Welcome to Small Biz Mama, episode 12. How much should kids play outside? Okay, so I know that with everything going on, for some of you, it's really, really hard to get your kids to play outside. You may live in a city, you may live in an area where there's still social distancing and quarantining going on. But if you look at the research, having kids play outside is critically important to their development. So when people ask me how much time kids should spend playing outside, my first kind of thought is probably more than they are. And I even know, there are sometimes we have a really hard time getting Eric, to play outside because there's so much cool stuff inside that he wants to play with. But, ideally, like we have days on the weekend where Eric is outside all day long. We'll wake up, we'll have breakfast, we'll go outside and play, we'll play in the garden, we'll play in the backyard, we'll go for walks. And then, we'll eat lunch outside. He'll go down and take a nap. He wakes up from his nap. We go back outside. We might play in the sprinkler. We don't have a pool, we don't have a jungle gym. We don't have, a big playscape. He just plays in the yard. And, we have a couple toys for him to play. And like I said, we have a kind of this little kids pool, it's more of a sprinkler. And then it's got like a little bit of water he can splash around in. We have a garden. We've got, some trees that he likes to kind of investigate and poke at and play with. He likes the texture of the bark. He thinks that's pretty cool. But it's not, we don't have Disneyland in our backyard. It's pretty simple. But he's found some really cool things that he likes to play with. So it doesn't, you don't need to create a 3-ring circus in your backyard. So why is it important? Because I think a lot of us know like we should be doing more with our kids outside. But I think when you start to look at the research is really, really compelling. There's a study that I found in Parents Magazine, and we'll put all this stuff in the links to the show notes, which you can get at smallbizmama.com. But the thing that I thought was really interesting is the study shows that spending time outside, around trees and grass and in nature, actually improves long-term mental health in children. I know if you just think about like your own experience, right? That when you go outside and you walk in the grass or you're in the trees, it's good for your own mental health too. And so, and I think, as an educator, as somebody who sat on a board of education, and I saw that more and more of the creative time, the outdoor time is being taken away from kids at school. And then they come home and they have all this homework and all these structured activities, and they don't get time to just go outside and play. And I think that it is critically important. When parents ask me how they can get more done during the day, I say, well, drag your tablet outside with you, or drag your laptop outside into the backyard and sit in the backyard and let your kids play near you. It's a great way for your kids to play and explore. And it's a great way, don't do something that needs 100% of your focus. But, if you have little tasks, if you've got to make some graphics for social media, if you've got to, go through your email, it's a really, really good way to get some more time. I like to I'll bring my planner out and I'll plan my week while Eric is playing outside. I'll respond to emails. I'll do some networking on social. Well, I've got one eye kind of going up on him and going down, so I'm kind of looking up and down the whole time. but it's great for him to be outside. And the things that I notice, there's actually a really interesting article, which again I'll put the link in the show notes at Small Biz Mama, for episode 12. But there was an article on Harvard's medical school website, 6 reasons that children need to play outside. And they talk about, it's great for exercise, because your kids they're running around, getting some sunshine. Most people have a vitamin D deficit. Make sure you put sunscreen on them, but it's good for us to be out in the sunshine. Like, I don't know about you, but after the winter is over, right, living in Connecticut, it gets gray. And like to just sit and get, as the fly lady says, get some sunbeams, right? And just sit in a sunbeam and let it just, like, you can feel, right? You're just like soaking it in and it feels so good. It's funny because like Erica started to do that. Like he'll kind of go out in the sun and he'll put his face up in the sun, right? And just soak it in. It just is so, so good for them. And, I see Eric go outside and take risks. He'll stand up on a high point in the yard, and he will jump off of it. He will, he'll explore blades of grass, and, he loves sticks. I swear, I think he's got this Harry Potter streak in him where he kind of sits there and he's got his little stick in his hand and he's kind of waving it around like a magic wand. And it leads to great creativity, right? And it helps improve their executive function because they're playing in a way where they have to make the best of what they have, right? And so they're making decisions about things, and they're looking at trees and what does the bark feel like on the tree, and they've got all these different colors of green that they're finding, and look at the flowers, and flowers come in so many different colors, and it's just such a cool, like, I love to just kind of watch him outside playing. I think it's so peaceful. And I actually think it's better that the less stuff you give them when they're outside, kind of the better it is, because they're forced to make do with what they have around them. Eric will get, some, we have some very small rocks, bigger than gravel, but, little rocks in the landscaping, and he'll grab a whole bunch of rocks and he'll sort them by color, or he'll sort them by size. And it's so cool to kind of see the little things that are going on in his head, while he's out there. And I understand, sometimes it's hot, or we've got things to do and we just wish that, our children would play on the floor, so we could be on our computers. But I think that it's really important for us, as moms, and I know their dads listening too, but as parents, to learn from our children, right? And I think sometimes I think we forget how good outside is for us too. It was kind of funny. So last night, we decided that as a family, that we needed to go for a walk. We just needed to kind of clear some headspace and go out for a walk. And so we, the way that we got Eric to go for a walk is we said, hey, let's go for a walk. We have train tracks that run behind our house, but they're really hard to see once all the foliage, we have lots and lots of trees, once that starts growing. But if you kind of walk down the street a little bit, there's a railroad bridge. And so we said, let's walk the railroad bridge and see if we can see a train. And so I was like, all right. So we grabbed the stroller and up we went. And we did see a train, which made him really, really happy, which is another thing, right? It's like when you go outside, you have new experiences that you cannot have in the house. Seeing seeing a train on TV, or playing with his little wooden trains is not the same as standing on a bridge and watching a train go under, right? Because it was funny because he saw it from one side, and then, I'm like, okay, turn around. And he looked down and it's like whooshing underneath us. He's like, oh my God, it's the train. It's so fast. And it's really interesting because we've gone to see trains before, but like this was so cool for him because it was right there. Right. So, yeah, so to kind of be standing there and have the train go underneath us was just so cool. But then after that, we asked him, like, well, do you want to go, do you want to go for some more of a walk? And he's like, yeah, let's go do that. So, so we got in a stroller, and we ended up going for a walk, which was really nice because we saw a whole bunch of our neighbors. Lots of people were outside. Lots of people like doing work to their houses, and it's really, it's really interesting because we live in a very diverse community, and everybody's so friendly, and everybody's, checking in on each other, and it's just really cool. And so, to be able to, say hi to our neighbors and go for a walk. And, Eric loves cars right now. So to be able to wave at cars, and it's one of his favorite things in the whole world. We ended up going for like a 2.5-mile walk. And it was nice. Like it was so recharging to go out and do that. And Eric's pointing out all sorts of things. And at one point, we walked past like a little wildflower, and we walked past some long grass. And so I gave him a piece of grass. He held on to that grass for 1.5 miles. It was just, and he's like picking at him, playing with little seeds. And, it was just cool. And so I think a lot of times we think that we have to have this really, busy backyard with swings and slides and all sorts of craziness. And you really don't. And I think the younger you start with kids, bringing them outside so that they have an appreciation for it. There are sometimes that Eric will just lay in the grass and look up at the sky, and look at clouds. He's noticing clouds a lot now. And just kind of talk and what he sees in the sky. And, is the sun out? Is the sun not out? Is it cloudy? Is it not cloudy? And he's watching the trees. Oh, Mama, look at the leaves and the trees. And I just think it's so much easier when kids are little to help them gain an appreciation of nature and being outside, and not having to have, 8 gazillion toys every time you go outside. That, nature can be your toy. And I love that. And I think sometimes we forget about that as grown-ups too. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you'll take your kids outside. Most of the experts that I read doing the research for this this episode said that, kids should be outside at least 3 hours a day. And I know we're striving to do better. I think we certainly hit that yesterday, but we definitely don't hit that every day. But start with 15 minutes. That's all you need to start with. Just start with more than you're doing right now and see how it goes. Let me know what your kids are doing outside. Let us know in the comments. Go to smallbizmama.com, click on episode 12, or give me a shout out on social media. I'd love to hear. You can get all of our social media handles on our website, smallbizmama.com. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon. Take care of each other.
Thank you for listening to Small Biz Mama with Kristen Ingram. If you'd like to learn how to create more margin in your life, please visit us at smallbizmama.com. That's smallbizmama.com.